lovely people, welcome to PM Personality Profile. My guest tonight, she's a teacher, an author, she's a religious and leadership forerunner. She is a reverend of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, a researcher into gender, Christianity and culture. Dr. Grace Sintim Adasi. She's currently the principal of the Presbyterian Women's College of Education in Agogo. I'm very happy to see you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Let's start off with the $1 million challenges of teachers. I will start with the licensure exams that this year's licensure exams, in which less than 2,000 teachers passed out of the over 7,000 that took the exams. What could be accounting for this? Because many are worried that if teachers who teach our kids are failing their exams, what then will they be teaching our children? What could be accounting for this mass failure?
Yeah, so I think I go back to my position that we should have a real look at what we examine them on, because they come to the training colleges, to the universities that do education, and we send them to the classroom. They've gone through all the subjects and their specialities.
Okay.
And what do we give to them, or what do we test them on in the licensure exams?
Okay.
Is it based on their areas of speciality, or is it general paper sort of that we give to them? Okay, they go to the exam room, and maybe what they are being tested on is not their focus.
Okay.
So you can imagine, like I being an African studies scholar, my specialty is religion,
okay,
and women, and then you are going to test me to to serve a nation, and you test me on mathematics.
Yeah.
This is just an example.
Yeah.
So they should have a look at what they test the candidates on.
Know that you also have infrastructure deficits at the colleges of education, and rightly there you spoke about the shift system. How rife is this problem?
This problem had come about because of the tertiarization processes that the colleges of education had gone through. My mother is a teacher, and their time was the set A, set B that they talk about.
Okay.
And then at a point in time, these training colleges were upgraded to pursue diploma courses. Then from 2018, the training colleges had also been upgraded to do a Bachelor of Education. And as such, during the diploma awarding era, they were going for the program for 3 years.
Okay.
And then when they were upgraded to do the Bachelor of Education, then they had to upgrade, and they do the program for 4 years.
Okay.
So you move on from a 3-year program to a 4-year program. Definitely there is a gap.
Yeah.
And that gap needs to be filled.
Yeah.
Now they are 4-year group on the campus instead of the 3-year group. So the government should increase lecture halls, should increase hostel facilities. We give them food, so we cook for them.
Yeah.
They go to the dining hall, and we need to expand all these facilities and our auditorium and all that. So it's a matter of an increase in the student population, and as such, if they have increased the population that should stay on the campus from a 3-year to a 4-year, then definitely all the facilities that we use on campus need a backup.
Needs a backup. And also there's this attrition of teachers. I know most of the teachers have left. What's causing this?
Yeah, that is why they want our superiors or stakeholders to also look into the staff auditing and give them the upgrading that they would need, because if someone has a PhD and is teaching in one of the universities like University of Cape Coast or University of Education Winneba, where we are affiliated to as the Agogo Presbyterian Women's College of Education, the salaries or the remuneration is not the same. The lecturer at the university takes higher income than the tutor at the College of Education. And you see, I'm using these terms, tutor, lecturer. That one is also another problematic area for them. And one, I think, tutor wrote a paper and he moved to teach in the secondary school because he was thinking that then when at all can he also even be promoted to be a professor if he stays at the College of Education, where he has the same qualification like an MPhil degree or a PhD, and with someone who is teaching at the university, and that person is called a lecturer, senior lecturer, professor, and he being at the College of Education and is being called a tutor. So
most of them have moved to the traditional
so if they get the opportunity, they move. For my institution, for example, some MPhil, some tutors who had MPhils and PhDs moved to University of Education Winneba, and then to the Apia Kenton University at Mampong. Some also had left to the technical universities because they thought that if they stay at the colleges of education comparatively to their colleagues in the universities, they cannot match them.
Your research areas are into religion, Christianity, culture, women and education. Let's delve into women and education. What has your research found?
You know, in our society, I'm talking about Ghana, the gender inequality was very high when it came to terms on women and education, girls and education. Comparatively, there had been a progress. We cannot say that the women, we haven't gotten anywhere. If we compare ourselves back to, let's say, about 50 years ago, we have gotten somewhere. But we still need a push to move on and help our men.
Definitely.
You know, some of us, when we are talking about inequality between men and women in the society, you know, during our times in 2012 when we were back in school doing our PhDs, we were looking into gender. But I don't want to contradict myself today. I would want to use more men and women. And we would want to play the complementary roles, and as such, if we are sending the boy child to school, let's also send the girl child to school. After all, I'm going to be the wife, and I'm going to complement all that you will be contributing for the progress of the family and the society. And as such, women should be pushed into education. They should be empowered.
You authored the book Women and Change, right?
Yes.
Tell me about it. Gender and Change.
Yes, gender and change. I did a research on women's ordination in the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. And from my findings, I realized that women until 1976 were not allowed to be reverend ministers in the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. You know, I compared to other churches, and even up to today, 2023, in some of the churches, they have not accepted women to lead them as reverend ministers. And when I was doing the research, there were a lot of arguments for and against women's ordination in the churches, especially my focus, the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. The skeptics were thinking, and even some women, when it comes to these discussions, you know, we are not pointing at the men. Even some of our women, based on our culture and our tradition, were thinking that no, Grace Sintim, you are a woman, don't go to the public and talk whilst men are around.
Wow.
And our father Paul in Corinthians told the women to be quiet at church. Keep quiet. When you go home, you ask your husbands. And people were using some of these things to keep women from becoming reverend ministers in the churches, especially in my church, until 1976, that Reverend Dora Ufuri Usu was allowed to be commissioned.
Okay.
Even from Atlanta in the US, she was sent to the then moderator who happens to be my grandfather's cousin. My grandfather was also a Presbyterian minister, and his cousin was a former moderator of blessed memory, Sintim Misa.
Okay.
So Reverend Ofurusu had to come to Ghana in 1976 for her to be commissioned, and not even to be commissioned for Presbyterian Church of Ghana, but rather she was sent back to Atlanta to go and work in the congregations there, because at that time people were still arguing. The men, women in the Presbyterian Church of Ghana were still arguing. And from my findings, had it not been with the intervention of some visitors, Presbyterian visitors from Sierra Leone, my grandfather's cousin, the then moderator Sintim Misa, would have had a big problem of not even being the moderator, because they didn't want to commission the women. What were some of the things that people were thinking that prevented women from becoming priests? They said the priesthood is a 24-hour work, and women, one of my papers is also on the multiple roles of women. Like myself, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a secular worker, and also a priest. So they were thinking that how can the wife, mother be a priest? A domain, a space that is a 24-hour. And our father Paul too was saying that women should not be allowed to talk, to lead when men were around. Our apostle Paul didn't mean what we were thinking. At that time, maybe the women were talking too much, and he said, keep quiet, let's finish with the meeting, go home, then you ask your husbands, and then you bring this in. And then people were even talking about women not covering their hairs. That's a different point for discussion. But now the other denominations who were covering hairs and all that, they are not doing it again. You see, it's not only men who were preventing the women. Aisha, you will not believe that even when there's going to be voting in the church, and if I should be voted for a position, my women,
your fellow women,
based on the traditions and the cultures, might even tell themselves that no, don't vote for this woman.
Vote for a man instead.
Vote for a man, because that is not our domain. So at that time too, they were thinking about menstruation. I have another paper also on women administering the communion, the Holy Communion. They were thinking that when you are young and not menopausal and you become a priest, we administer communion, and if you are menstruating and you administer communion, you will render the substance that we think is holy and holy. Because they were trying to connect to our traditional religion, where blood was seen as something at a point in time that there is potency, and at another point in time that renders some substances impotent. Because in the chief's palace, for example, women who menstruated were to move out and cleanse themselves after menstruation before coming back. And we were transferring all these ideas into the church. And as such, when we had Christianity, we were thinking that no woman, the woman will menstruate, the woman will give birth to children, the woman should take care of the children and the husband, and as such, no woman to be a minister. And you know that there were cases when women were ordained as ministers, and in the church, some elderly men or even our fellow women will not come to church on communion days because it is the woman who is going to administer. Luckily, from 1976 then through 79 to this time, we have a lot of women who have come. Though the numbers are not matching the numbers of the men, but there had been a massive improvement, and we have not disappointed our men.
Definitely,
we are doing very well.
Women never
we are
disappoint.
helping. Unfortunately, sometimes when you are posted to a congregation, before you get there, the story is we don't like a woman.
Oh,
yes, we don't like a woman.
Wow.
And if they give you the chance and you go,
then
later they will like.
They now change their perception.
Women fellowship, women will like you so much. We dance a lot with them at church.
Wow, principal of the Presbyterian Women Colleges of Education. What has been your biggest challenge as a woman? You've just enumerated how the ministry perceive women who are ministers of God and all of that. At the education level, how has it been for you as a woman?
Yeah, there is even a paper that I'm looking at, and I've sent out my questionnaires to my colleagues and principals, both the males and the females. Aisha, as a woman leader, I was at the Institute of African Studies as a research fellow teaching here and the head of the religion section. The moment you step that domain, Agogo, Presbyterian Women's College of Education, you have male tutors who are working with you, and you are their leader.
Okay.
No matter what, they see you a woman. They see you as the wife that they have in the house. They see you as the sister that they have in the house. They see you as the daughter that they have in the house.
They should also see you as the mother.
And they see you
and give us that respect.
As the mother. But one of my challenges with this position at my institution is more of they are seeing me as the wife, they are seeing me as the daughter, they are seeing me as the sister. And as such, they are quote unquote ify penny. They are the heads. Indirectly. Yeah. So is principal, do this for us. Principal, let's do it this way. Principal, let's do it this way. But I always have the time for them because I know my research.
Yeah.
And I try to look into all those things, and I make sure that we work equally.
Yeah, we work
and
together.
Not being my husband of the traditional home
or imposing on you,
or my elder brother.
Yeah.
I see them with that perception of, oh, she is a woman.
Yeah.
She is a woman, and it has not been very simple, but by the grace of God,
you've sailed
through, and many of them have come to understand me, and now we are working perfectly together.
Dr. Reverend Mrs. Grace Sintim Adasi, she's my guest tonight. She's a principal of the Presbyterian Women College of Education in Agogo, and she's been explaining to me why much attention must be given to colleges of education. When we return from this break, we'll be getting into her skin proper and know who is Dr. Grace Sintim Adasi. She'll be telling us about her days at Oforipenyin and also her days in Achimota when she used to teach English and social studies. Remember, she was a house mistress. She'll be sharing her experience with all the tricks that the students were playing with her over there. Plus, she'll be sharing her lifestyle and family values. Stay with me, I'm coming right back. Welcome back to PM Personality Profile. My guest tonight, still Dr. Reverend Mrs. Grace Sintim Adasi. She is the principal of the Presbyterian Women's College of Education in Agogo. So I know that you were born in the New Tafuakim. Okay. Is that where you hail from?
No, I come from, as an Achim woman.
Okay.
My mother comes from Kwabin in the eastern region. You branch from Enyinem. Okay. That's about 10-minute drive from Enyinem. And my father comes from Siakwa and Apija.
That's
you
also
know,
in the eastern
in the
region.
it was only when my dad died and my mother was reading their tribute, and I realized that at that time they met when all of them were Achim students, and they were in the same students union. Achim Students Union.
You never knew.
I never knew.
They hid it from you.
Until April 2016.
Okay.
Yes, so Kwabi Esiakwa Apidra.
Okay.
Yeah, in the eastern region. But I was born at New Tafo Akem.
Okay, that's where your parents were staying.
Yes, my father was then a mathematics tutor of Ofuripenyi Secondary School.
Oh, that explains why you went there. Right. Okay. And so that means that's where you grew up.
Yes.
New Tafo Akem.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We left. We left New Tafo Akem for Cape Coast.
Okay.
When I was very young, so New Tafo Akem. I did not start my schooling
over there.
Over there, I was a baby, born for a midwife at 80. That's that's the story.
Okay.
And the then headmaster of Ofuripenyi Secondary School, Chuma Mpofo's wife, because I'm a firstborn.
Okay.
You know, took the baby and the mother, that's my mother and myself, to the headmaster's house and all that. And then my father had to go and work at Cape Coast.
Okay,
so
he was transferred to Cape Coast.
Yeah, he went for further studies.
Okay.
So he left Ofuripenyi Secondary School for Cape Coast University.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to work with the Center for Development Studies after he studied there.
Okay.
And I attended University Primary School, Cape Coast.
In Cape Coast, okay.
And at another time, my father moved to Kufuridua.
Okay.
So when we came,
moving.
So Cape Coast Primary, I did the early primary stage, and when we came to Kufuridua, I attended Nana Kokubuati Experimental School from class 4, where I sat for my common entrance examination in class 6.
Okay.
And I left for Ofuripenyi
Secondary School
for both my O levels and my A levels.
So at Cape Coast, tell me about growing up. So you were living on university campus?
Yes.
Okay, so that means that you'll be friends with other lecturers, children, and all of that. Yes. How was it like? The fun moments? I'm sure there were terrible moments as well.
Yeah, but I always recollect that coming up from the background, like a university campus, had been very good for my life. And when Professor Matidu died, I just called my friends and I told them, Kina was my contemporary at that time, and we used to visit their house. Okay. The mother was writing her poems with the calabash and all those things. And look at us. Also, I was very sad when Professor Matidu died, because Kena, the daughter, and other colleagues at that time were children, class 4 at Cape Coast University. We played together and we were moving from one home to the other. One interesting thing that I always recollect and I liked at that time was our birthday parties. Every weekend
there was a birthday party.
Yes, university primary, peoples. We had birthday parties to attend
from one place to the other. Oh wow, lucky!
If not on the university campus, we would go to Pedu, Abra, Wesley Girls area. You see, and the then headmistress of Wesley Girls, her daughter of blessed memory, Grace Champon, was also my good friend. I was Grace Sintim, and she was Grace Champon. The mother was then the headmistress of Wesley Girls High School, and as we grew together, we started reciting poems. And so when I came to Kufuridua Kwekubuati Experimental School when I was in class 6, I wrote a play. For our colleagues, and we staged it in school.
Oh wow!
Yes. So being a growing up child at Cape Coast University campus, the new sites where we have University Practice Secondary School,
Okay.
was so exciting. And growing up with a lot of my mates had been very exciting. We were going for church services and the Sunday school.
Okay.
Yeah, we were taught a lot. And sometimes I even trace my ministerial journey right from that time.
Okay.
From the Sunday school
I
at
see.
Cape Coast University campus, you know, the Presby Church and the Nupchi and all that. And also being brought up in that environment made me very serious when it comes to studies.
Of course.
Yes. And we had a lot of mentors around.
Yeah.
You know, at that time I was looking at Edu at that
young age.
And you know,
you
having
had all the people around
and professors,
and you had no reason to
that
fail.
is it. Many of them were males, but you know, Professor Amat Edu, a female, you know, was one of them that I really looked at.
Yeah.
And when I went to the secondary school and we were reading her novels, you know, Anwa and all that, you know, I was so excited because I saw it very real that this was a woman that I know. And she wrote this.
Yeah.
And I was using these books as literature.
Okay.
So
I
would force myself to, you know, to understand. When she died and they were talking about some of her novels and literature, they were talking about, you know, one of the chapters that dealt with the old woman and the young girl. You know, the girl comes in, asking her, what is this? The sea. What is deep in the sea? Then the grandma said, shh, don't talk about that. We don't talk about what is in the sea. And the theme for Anoa, for example, it talks about what you and I are now, you know, preaching, you know, women's empowerment. You see, Anoa, a very strong, you know, character, protagonist in the novel that, you know, she didn't want Kofi Ako.
That's
you
true.
See, and you parents were forcing the marriage upon her. And she said no.
Yeah.
She said no. So you see her utterances in the novel and all that, and then Kofi Ako, you become a chief, and they were funding even empty chairs whilst you were not there. I don't know, go and stand somewhere in the novel and just, you know, point out and, you know, sympathize with the twins that they were wasting their energy. And in the end, you know, the gender dynamics comes there. That Kofi Ako is disgraced and Anoa is elevated. At least one of the teams have come out.
Interesting. I can see that you had fun growing up on the campus of the University of Cape Coast.
Yes.
So from there, then you proceeded to Foripeni. I mean,
from there we came to Koforidua briefly, as I said.
Okay.
So I attended Nana Koku Boateng Experimental School. No, Nana Koku Boateng is the chief.
Okay.
He was the chief.
Okay.
Of
then
Koforidua Drapini area. So there's a school that was named after him.
Okay.
At that time it was McDonald's. If you don't go to McDonald's, then you go to Nana Koku Boateng. we came back from Cape Coast and we didn't get McDonald's admission to McDonald's. We went to Nana Koku Boateng and that one too, it was very exciting. Okay. My mother was then also a teacher there. Okay. So, you know, we were going to school with our mother.
Okay. Oh, I can imagine the fun.
So we are all students on a platform. Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about Oforipenyin, the experience at Oforipenyin. Definitely your father was a teacher. Nobody dared, you know, try you or try to bully you or something, I'm sure.
When I came to Oforipenyin, my dad had left Oforipenyin.
Oh, okay.
You know, he was then at economic planning.
Okay.
At Koforidua.
Okay.
Yeah, so from Cape Coast, he came to Koforidua as an economic planning officer.
Okay.
That's why I attended.
Okay. But then he had been there. The name was there. The legacy.
Up to now, the old students.
Definitely.
Yeah, they call me Joe Boy's daughter. Until now, the old students. I am the chair for old students disciplinary committee. We sometimes want to help the students, the current students. So we, the old students, who are doing our own things, we formed some committees, and I am the chair of the disciplinary committee, where we would want to look into the disciplinary issues that comes out of the school and see how best we can counsel the students. GES have their own procedures and proceedings, but we, the old students, are also very concerned of the current students.
So what was the environment at Oforipenyin?
At Oforipenyin Secondary School, let me emphasize here that I mixed one of the female institutions as my first choice, and I had to go to my second choice.
So that was your second choice.
Was my second choice.
Which was your first?
My first was Every Girls.
Every Girls.
Honestly.
Okay, you went okay, no wonder you were in Kofrija, so you thought Every Girls was closer.
I sent my third daughter to Every Girls.
Oh, before so
high. He was so calm, solid. I sent her to Every Girls.
Okay.
The first two, they went to Wesley Girls, but the third one, I said, please go to Wesley Girls and
Every Girls for me.
So that my mission will be accomplished, at least in my heart. So at Ofuepenyi Secondary School, it was a mixed school. My first year, I always felt nostalgic for home. I missed my mom and dad. Can you imagine?
Of course.
13
years.
I missed my mom and dad. I was always crying. But well, at a point in time, I had to think about studies. So I studied very hard. My dad was someone of blessed memory. Was someone who would always want you to take your studies very serious. So during visiting time, yes, he will come all the time and make sure that you study very hard. You go and bring your books, your assignment that you've done for the month in the school whilst you were there alone and all that. But when we went to Form 1, for example, our seniors, some of them also bullied us so much. You go and watch some of them, their socks and all that, and I would be crying. But I had a good school mother in the person of Joanna Usu.
Okay.
We are so close up till now. Okay. She really protected me, and all the time, just after siesta, she would tell me to run away
before they come out of
the dormitory and go and study.
Okay.
Yes. So I studied very hard at Ofuepenyi Secondary School, and I wanted to read literature, English, economics.
Okay.
So when I got to Form 4, I dropped French. My father was not happy.
Oh, okay.
And I think I've also regretted of not adding French to my studies, because recently when we travel to some of the countries, for example to Canada, you realize that, oh, you should have done the French.
I should have done
so my dad came to the French teacher. At that time she was Miss Tay. Miss Tay complained, Grace, I stopped the French. My dad asked me, I said, Dad, I'm afraid I will go and do oral French. So I stopped. I think I will learn French again.
At this time? Well,
I
you
did
have
my
what
1
it
to
takes.
5 and I did my 6th form at Ofuepenyi Secondary School.
Okay.
And I became a house prefect.
You were lucky.
House 4 prefect. Yes.
Okay.
It was nice studying at Ofuepenyi Secondary School.
You were lucky that you were protected by your school mother.
Yes.
And so that means you never got into any trouble.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Good for you.
Presbyterian child.
Okay. And you had no challenges at that time.
The fetching of water was too much for us at that time. We used to even walk to Tafo, the town,
to go and fetch
water. It's a long
distance.
We used to walk to Tafo to go and fetch water.
Oh, wow.
You see, but now all these problems are solved.
And they've been solved.
Yes. And the seniors, you have to go and wash their clothing, their socks, and I remember it's a long time, 1983. But I remember all these ones. Sometimes you see me crying, but well, I took my studies serious.
And here we are. Let me ask you, talking about bullying, what you make of this recent viral video about a student bullying his colleague at Adisato College. How do you feel about this?
You know, when I'm watching that viral video, sometimes I close my eyes. I feel too bad. And as some psychologists have proposed, we need to send that young man to a psychiatrist to really check what is actually wrong with him. I was thinking, and I had many questions to ask. I mean, can they check whether that time he had taken on some drugs? I mean, what is the family background? Does he have some traces of mental illness? Because what he has done is over and above the bar. No, it's not acceptable. Definitely. It's not normal to me. Honestly. Wow. It's not normal. We really need to look into it very well. Because how can you treat your fellow human being
this
like
way?
This? Please, we need to really look into it and address the situation very well, and look for such students in all the institutions and confine them and help them with counseling and if they need medications or whatever. No, what he has done is over and above the bar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's sad.
So whilst growing up as a child, what did you want to become?
Whilst I was growing up, you know, my dad was always telling me that I would be a teacher.
Okay.
Yes, I would be a teacher. And when he said that, I embraced it wholeheartedly.
Okay.
So I wanted to be a teacher.
Oh.
I wanted to be a teacher.
Because you wanted to follow the steps of your parents.
Yes, so my dad, you know, he used to tell me a lot of stories and would tell me, you know, Fatia, you would go and when you are trained as a teacher, you go to Cape Coast University, then you will teach in a secondary school, you go and you will be made a house mistress, you will be given your bungalow.
So he prophesied into your life.
I say this every day about my dad.
Wow.
Every day about my dad.
That's exactly what happened in your life.
So when I was finishing the university, Cape Coast University in 1994, I didn't look anywhere than to go and teach.
Ooh.
That's why my first station, Achimota,
started.
Yeah, senior secondary school.
Okay.
At that time, it was Achimota School.
Okay.
But I taught at the senior high
level.
And I was a house mistress. So right from the one, my national service at Achimota School, I was made a house mistress.
Okay.
And I had a big accommodation, a story building
in the
with my
school.
garage and outer house.
Wow.
Myself, a young woman.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what my dad
Your dad prophesied and it came to pass.
Came to pass.
Let's talk about the experience in Achimota as a lecturer or a teacher and as a house mistress.
Yes.
How was the experience?
I was teaching social studies.
Okay.
Yeah, as a national service person in 1994. And I went to Freaking Secondary School.
Okay.
So it was so exciting for me to teach in such a prestigious institution also. And the students were very intelligent. Yep. Very. And it was so accommodating. Many of them became my friends. You know that year group, for example, many of that year groups, some of them are my friends all over the world. When I travel, I go to them. When they come to Ghana, they come to me.
That's wonderful.
So it was an eye-opener for me to teach in such a school. And the school was closer to University of Ghana. Yeah. So after my national service, when I was given a full appointment to teach, and I was teaching, I decided that okay, then let me also start my master's program at the University of Ghana.
University of Ghana. So you were teaching and schooling at the University of Ghana.
And seeing the old students, they come in there every time. It was a form of mentorship for me. Okay. And I really liked the school also. And at that time, one interesting thing is they wanted us to go and play golf. You know, the old students will come for us and they will say, oh, when you spend, I think about 7 years or so, you'll be called Accra. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I want to be called Openyi. Yes, Impenyifo. Impenyifo, because I went to prepare secondary school, but I've come to help your school.
Interesting. What would you say about the tactics of students dodging house mistress? You know, when they are supposed to be at the dormitory, they will be somewhere. When they are supposed to be at dining, they will be hiding in the dormitory. All these things. How did you take it?
Oh, you know that at Motor School, I don't know as at today. I need to visit there again anyway. The discipline was very high. So and we lock the dormitories. I was the second house mistress for house 17. Okay. And the then first house mistress was very strict. Okay. The person of Miss Mensah. She was very strict. She used to teach at St. Rose's. Okay. And she was very strict. But still, you have exceptionals.
Definitely. They will outsmart you.
They would have gone here to hide here and there, you know. Even sometimes during vacations, parents will come crying, asking of their daughters that they hadn't come home and would have to, you know, look at that time too. There were no mobile phones like now. Yeah. So it wasn't simple and easy. Yeah. But with the discipline. Yeah. With the discipline, many of them were very good. Okay. And those at the boys section, I know that there were a lot of hardcores, you know, but they sailed through.
You did sail through. So at what point did you develop that love for, you know, God's work or ministering in the house of God?
Yeah. You know, as a firstborn, I remember when we were at Tafo, you know, when I was growing up.
Yeah.
We are 4, and I would take my other 3 siblings to church.
Okay.
When my dad died, I showed that picture in the brochure where my younger sister was sitting on.
So you were 4 girls?
No, 2.
2 girls, 2 boys.
Yes,
okay.
Two, the first. And I've been in the church since infancy, you know, from the Sunday school, the junior, that's the JY, and women's fellowship. So when I was a student at the University of Ghana, I started my PhD in 2008.
And the Brandenburg or is it in
Germany?
Germany?
University of Ghana, Germany. I did World Heritage Studies after my MPhil.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did my PhD here at the Religions Department, University of Ghana.
Okay.
So when I started, I was looking at women's activities in the church because my MPhil, I had looked at women's activities in prayer camps.
Okay.
I looked at the Salvation Prayer Camp of the Church of Pentecost.
Okay.
And this time around too, I wanted to look at women's activities in the church, especially the reverends, you know, women ministers. And one time I was sitting at the library, I was trying to read around my theoretical framework, where I was looking at equality, and one of my mentors, that is Professor Mercy Oduye of Talita Kum, Trinity Theological Seminary. She had written extensively on that theory. So I was trying to read her Hearing and Knowing book, and I was with one of my colleagues. He's now Reverend Professor Asare Danso of Cape Coast University, the current elect chairperson of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Ebuakwa, Chibi. So I called him and I said, please, can you look at this theory for me? You know, I'm looking at these women in the church, and I am thinking of equality. Yeah. No one is above the other.
Definitely.
Adam and Eve, you know, equality. They should be equal. And we shouldn't talk about God using the rib of Adam to, you know, create Eve as something intentional of superiority or suppression. Men suppressing and women. So, and whilst he was discussing this with me, then he told me, Grace, I see the calling of God upon you. I mean, why don't you respond to your call? But before that, Aisha, there is one woman of blessed memory, Reverend Alice Chi Auntie, who was one of the women that I was writing about. You know, I looked at Reverend Alice Chi Auntie's life experiences, Reverend Rose Teteki Abe, and Reverend Rose Ekuya Ampof, who initiated the Abokobi Women's Center at Abokobi, representing, you know, ordained women of the church. So Reverend Rose Ekuya Ampof is of blessed memory. Even at that time she was, and now to Reverend Alice Chianti is of blessed memory. And looking at the life experiences of Reverend Alice Chianti, she also told me one time when I was interviewing her at Tema, in her congregation, that Grace, why don't you listen to the voice of God and come and help the women also in the church? I see that in you. And I said, okay, I would keep quiet and listen to the voice. So when now Professor Asare Danso also told me that, Reverend Professor Asare Danso told me that, I said, hey, Mama Alice also said it too, but how do I go about it? You know, I'm reading my PhD and I also teach. At that time I had left Ashmota School for the then Accra Polytechnic, and I was the head of the Liberal Studies Department. And he said, oh, let's go to Trinity, your church. I was then fellowshipping at Trinity, though a Presbyterian. We have a United Church there. And he said, oh, you know, we the Presbyterians, we have our seminary at Abetifi. So you will do the sandwich type once you have your MPhil, African Studies, religions, you are doing PhD in religions, you wouldn't go to the Trinity one, you go to Abitifi.
Yeah.
So that is to cut the long story short. So I went for the forms. My minister in charge now, he is Reverend Dr. Fayusi of Christian Council.
Yeah.
So they endorse everything. They say, yes, it is great. Oh, yes, even the way you read Bible at church and you are part of the women's fellowship and all that. No, yes, you can be a Reverend minister.
Okay.
Yes, we see the calling.
Okay.
So I went through all the processes of writing exams, going up for the interview, and that question comes up. You go for the interview. I mean, how did you get your call? They don't want you to say you had a dream. So I told them about her. Even initially, when they were asking, I was sitting. Then someone said, your Damascus Road encounter. The Damascus Road encounter. So I narrated my Damascus Road encounter. That is called a Damascus Road encounter.
Okay.
And then I had to go and enroll for the sandwich, combining writing my PhD and all that. Luckily for me, the coordinator, who happens to be the present moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Professor J.O. Waimante, was the coordinator, and he came at that time. He looked at our certificates and all that. So some of us, he said, no, you do the program for 1 year because you already have your MPhil in religions, you are doing the PhD. So I went through my seminary school for the 1 year, and 2010 I was commissioned as a Presbyterian minister. And then you do probational studies on the field, whilst you are in the congregation. So I was combining. And in 2012 I was ordained. And here I find myself teaching here and there, and the Presbyterians.
11 years on.
Yes. And now I am heading a mission institution, but Presbyterian.
Congratulations. So we are so proud of your achievements, and you are an inspiration to a lot of women out there. I'm sure Mr. Sintim Mr. Adasi.
He is Mr. William Adasi.
Okay, I'm sure Mr. Adasi has been very supportive of the scholars.
Very. He's been a husband, but more like a brother. Like a brother. We started right from the scratch, and I thank him so much.
And the 3 beautiful girls, they are so proud of you.
My first daughter was telling me when she was young, Mommy, where you have got into, where do you want us to go?
You set the standard for them.
I told them the sky is not the limit.
They have no reason to fail.
I told them the sky is not the limit these days, my sister. I call them sisters.
Of course.
Because of the schools they attended, they were always called sisters, and I think they're my sisters.
So when you retire after a hard day's work, after ministering, after lecturing, after being a mother, a wife, and all of that, what do you do to relax?
I like singing a lot.
Okay, you'll sing for me today. Actually,
to the gospels. And then I like going out with my family, my husband and my children. Sometimes we go to the falls, we'll go to Akusumbo. Sometimes we stay out from Accra, so that at least they can get the feel of me.
You can spend time
and have the
with
motherhood.
the family.
Yes.
So
Sometimes we go to Jarapa. We try to move.
Away from the normal environment.
So that we visit, the interesting places together. And
does your husband church with you? Does he?
Yes. Interestingly, for my gender dynamics, the Lord has been so good to me. When people get married, they send their wives to their congregation.
Well, you took your husband to
from Anglican church.
You are such a strong woman. Oh wow!
So I'm practicing all that I study and do. So I brought my husband from the Anglican church.
He sits and listens to you preach.
Yes.
Oh wow!
Listening to me. before we go and preach. We'll go to church and I'll preach. He will tell me to be looking at him. Then, you know, my last congregation I left for Agogo is Faith Congregation Shashi.
Okay.
It's just here.
Okay.
So he will tell me, you know, you have a lot of professors and, you know, doctors in your congregation. So when I prepare the sermon, make it short. Make it short. 20 minutes, please. So
that's the supportive husband. Okay.
So he will tell me, when you are preaching up there, look at my face. So when I do this, it means you are left with 5 minutes.
You're a timekeeper in the church. Oh, what a loving husband. Quite interesting. That's interesting. And you have a beautiful family. We thank God for your life. But do you do anything to keep fit? I look at you and you look very healthy. And you look fit.
Thank you. Yes, my doctor advises I do a lot of walking.
Okay.
And then I always go to the gym, especially in Agogo. You know, we share a wall with the hospital, so they have a gym, and I go every day. So I don't play with my morning and evening walk. Even on campus, you see me doing it every time.
You do?
Every morning and every evening.
Wow.
And sometimes too, I go to the gym at Agogo Presbyterian and Hospital.
Okay.
I do my gym because my doctors are always advising. And with my husband, we do the walking a lot.
Oh, yes. That's nice. It's also a way
so
of...
Sometimes, you know, we fix the treadmill closer to the washroom, thinking that, oh, I'll be on it before
I go to the washroom.
Every time I think about time.
Another way.
Then you leave home. So I like going out to do all that.
At least a walk will do, and then you chat a little whilst walking. It's another way of...
Sometimes I don't even want to do it on my school campus.
Okay.
Else, you know, this person will meet you,
and they will be distracting you.
Sometimes I will let my driver pick me. We go to the outskirts of the town where we get some hilly roads, and then he'll park somewhere. I said, park somewhere. Then I'll be walking up and down. Then he'll bring me back quietly. I come and stay in my room.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. And I know in your quiet time you listen to music and you love this particular one. Sintim
Summarizes a lot.
Thank you so much for talking to us, and we must say that we appreciate your contribution to the growth of women and religion. Keep up the good work, and God bless you. Viewers, thank you so much for watching. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Same time next week, we'll be bringing you another interesting edition on PM Personality Profile. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.